Welcome to Ag Stories. This episode is sponsored by AgEnterprise Supply, located in Cheney and Wilbur, supplying everything you need to get the highest yields out of your crops. And State Bank Northwest, founded in Garfield, now headquartered in Spokane, State Bank Northwest offers full-service banking on a first-name basis.
For today's Ag Stories journey, we have Gary Farrell from AgEnterprise Supply. And he's here to tell us why it's just not so simple as dropping a seed in the ground, putting dirt over it, and waiting for something to pop up.
So true, Lani, yes. You know, the growing of crops seemingly to most people seems be a simple process of which it's not. It's a complex, it's using scientific methods, working hard to find the needs to grow a crop. My agronomists are out in the field starting early in the season before the crop is planted, and we go out and spend an inordinate amount of time poking holes in the soil, doing soil testing. So we test every foot individually down to 6 feet. So to do that in a field of 160 acres requires that we do those 6 tests in at least a dozen different locations in that field to get an average of what the soil has in reserves of nutrients, moisture, and so on, so that we can get the tests back and then look at it and see what nutrients need to be added to the soil.
And one thing that that I hear when I'm listening to you, because I learned this from my husband from NRCS days, soil and dirt are not the same thing.
Very much.
And one of the things that people don't understand is the complexity of soil, both chemically and biologically. So tell us a little bit about how an agronomist looks at the soil.
Well, I was told by one of my agronomists that dirt is disorganized soil. So
okay, that's a good way to look at it.
the soil structure is such a complex organism with the microbial activity that goes on beneath the surface that most people have not taken into consideration for the longest time. It's
a whole ecosystem of its own.
Total, the billions and billions of microbes that live in the soil are just a part of what we have to consider in how we do grow a crop. When we apply products, be it nutrients, be it herbicides or whatever, we take into consideration what is the effect on those nutrients or the microbes, in the soil, because we don't want to damage the microbe community. We want to help benefit the community to do what it does best in the soil, which is break down organic matter, which produces obviously organic nutrients that the crops will use as they grow through the crop cycle.
You had some interesting comments as we were visiting before filming about the difference between sustainability and truly being regenerative. And so we want to go beyond sustainability. How do you see, or what are some things that you're doing that are helping farmers get beyond just sustainability?
Well, my take on this whole thing is sustainability is just doing the same thing and maintaining a basic level. And that's not what we need to be doing. It needs to be a regenerative approach. You need to regenerate the microbes in the soil. You need to regenerate the quality of soil, and with concerns of soil health first and foremost. And some of the people in my industry have a hard time with that concept because they think we're here just to sell nutrients, and people outside of our industry don't understand that we do care about the soil health and what goes on in there. Besides the selling of the nutrient packages we have. So it's a really important aspect in regenerative in knowing what's going on in the soil, especially in the microbial world of that, and where the soils are where we can improve the soils with different farming practices, which are customer-based now, are basically the no-till or direct seed farmers. So we're not going in and disturbing the soil. We're taking a crop off of it. We're doing a chemical fallow, or we're even doing a cover crop now on that soil, and then coming back and planting back the following cycle directly into that. So we're not doing any soil disturbances And what that does, of course, is helps maintain the microbial activity due to the fact that the soil is not being disturbed. Once you disturb it, you disrupt their activities, and it throws things out of balance. So,
Well, cover
it's not
crops are, I think, a new concept for a lot of the farms in the dryland area, because there's always been a maybe a belief that it's not possible to do that in dryland farming. But you've had a couple of successes, and you're working on some other experiments. To tell us a little bit about how that's going.
I was very blessed 6 or 7 years ago to become a member of the National Cover Crop Committee, which was formed by Dr. Rob Myers out of the University of Mississippi. And so that's really where I got acquainted with the cover crop thing and what was going on. And it's huge in the Midwest and the Northeast. We had quantified almost 15 million acres in that area. But west of the Mississippi, we had about 0. So at that point, I became very interested, and I thought, well, when they say it won't work,
That's a challenge, isn't it?
We need to find a way to show them that yes, it does. So we've been working with cover crops going on 5 or 6 years now, and most of it has been to the west, up in the Mansfield Plateau, and in that 9 and 10 inch rainfall area of farming, which they said it would definitely not work there. Well, after several years of finding the right mix to use, we've been able to make it work, and we've been able to actually get some commercial acres produced there with cover crops, and we've also integrated then cattle grazing back in there as an alternative to the farm as well. So it's been exciting, and we've done some work further this way in the higher rainfall areas, and it's a slow process. We work with an innovative group of farmers in our client base that are the ones that are willing to try new things. So it's a trial and error, and they have to see it to believe it, because they're like me, they don't believe it unless they see the results.
Well, and a lot of the results are very site specific. I mean, the microclimates across this region are a key piece to figuring out for any particular farm what's going to work.
Very much so, yes. What works out there in the 9 to 10 inch rainfall doesn't work so much over here in the 16 inch rainfall, and you get further east into the high 20 inch rainfall areas. Totally different. So we have to find different cultivars that work in those soil types and that moisture regime as well. So you can't just take a one-size-fits-all approach to it. You have to find and adapt the different crops or seed that works in those different areas.
Well, and even adapt year to year. Different rainfall pattern in one spring may mean a different application.
Absolutely. And that's why our agronomists go out pre-plant and we soil test to see what amount of moisture is available in the soil profile, so we do have a better idea of what we can and can't use. We also use a new soil probe that's an electronic device that we will plant into the field. It's 4 foot deep. It measures the soil moisture, temperature, and every 4 inches, and it's able to send out those results in real time via a radio or received into your cell phone.
Yeah.
So we have that as well that we're using out there to monitor what the soil moisture. The biggest concern with our customers were that we use too much moisture to come back in and recrop after the cover crop. Well, we've monitored the moisture levels through both cycles, and in one instance out west in the 9 inch rainfall, we actually tested it with their conventional method of summer fallow in our cover crop, and in the end of the growing cycle in late September, we soil tested, and we actually had 2 inches more available moisture in the cover crop ground than they did in their conventional fallow methods.
I would think it may have just captured the rainfall better and held it.
It held the submoisture better a lot of times, and it covers the ground. It keeps the soil temperatures lower, so we're not losing as much moisture to transpiration. And so it was interesting.
But you got the science to back up that theory now.
We were able to show them that that's always not necessarily true.
Cool. So it's a little more complicated than just sticking a seed in the dirt.
A little bit more. We like to use the science and the technology to prove our points, instead of a shovel.
Yeah. You've got a long list of services that you offer, and we talked about some of them, about the, doing the soil monitoring and testing and the cover cropping, and some of it is the crop data management, the GPS and yield mapping, and you've got some devices that you can provide.
We do, and the science and technology again is part of what we are, and using our I guess age-old methods of experience to go with it. But a lot of the farm community now has the capability with their precision ag technologies that they have, and that's a product that we also sell and service for our customers. The yield maps from when they're harvesting their crop, after they're done, it produces a yield map. So we'll download that yield map, and it shows us where their high yields, their medium yields, and their low yields were in the field. So we'll take that information, we'll put it on their map of the field, and when we go out then to soil test to find out what nutrients need to be added in the fall, then we break that into 3 different segments of high, low, and medium production. And so we'll soil test those separately, and then we'll come up with a recommendation of what nutrients that need to be applied when they plant their seed in the fall, and so that we know we're getting the right amount of nutrients, where the highest yield production capabilities are, and so forth.
And that's a lot more scientific than when I look out my back window and I can tell where the winter wheat came up quickly, and where it's taken its time, and where it's washed off. And you're collecting all that data to be able to use it more scientifically in the next year.
Well, yes, and the whole aspect of that is that it's brings a level of efficiency to the farm customers. They used to go out and we would take an average of the field and say, okay, you need this many nutrients to cover this average. Well, you are over applying in a lot of the areas, but you are under applying in the other areas. Yeah. So when you get the right nutrients in the right place, then their economics and the efficiencies that are there for them to produce the most crop that they're capable of producing makes it more economical for them.
Okay. So there's a lot that an agronomist and AgEnterprise Supply provides that helps provide value to the farmer. And you are operating out of offices in Cheney and Wilbur right now?
Yes. And
serving customers in what's your service area?
We have customers with a 150-mile radius of Cheney and probably within a 100-mile radius of our Wilbur location. The majority of our customers, as I mentioned before, are the innovative, progressive type, the direct seed community, more so than the conventional farmers. So we're not like some that stay within a 15-mile radius of their plant. We reach out in a bigger area to service the needs of the customers we work with.
It sounds like you have a great operation going here, and I look forward to seeing the results of some of those next spring. Hopefully we can do some more ag stories and perhaps follow an agronomist out in the field for some testing.
Absolutely. We'd
That'd
love
be
to
great.
have you.
All right. Thank you, Gary.
You're welcome.
Thanks for watching this episode of Ag Stories. This episode is sponsored by AgEnterprise Supply, located in Cheney and Wilbur, supplying everything you need to get the highest yields out of your crops. And State Bank Northwest, founded in Garfield, now headquartered in Spokane, State Bank Northwest offers full-service banking on a first-name basis.